Will Warren Buffett continue selling his shares in Apple? And could he possibly eventually sell out of all of his shares? That's the question I've been wondering, and maybe you have too, that I'm going to attempt to answer in this video. Warren Buffett eventually amassed a position in Apple of around 800 million shares. Well, over the last year and a half to 2 years, he began to pare down that position and ended up selling around 60% of his total shares, now sitting at around 300 million of those shares. Will he continue to sell those shares, or is he finished now? Well, we're going to find out here this week because the 13F filings will be made public. And so I'll do a follow-up to this video to update you on what he's actually been doing this last quarter with his Apple shares. Until then, we're left to guess, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. The reasons he's given for reducing his position in Apple are twofold, essentially. One is valuations. In his estimation, both the markets in general and Apple specifically are carrying a high valuation, historically speaking. The other reason that he cites for selling some of his Apple shares is that because of appreciation, he's almost 8x'd his money since he began purchasing in 2016. And as a result, Apple has become by far and away the largest position in Berkshire Hathaway's portfolio. Now, neither of these two factors have changed since the last published 13F. Markets are still overvalued, as is Apple, and Apple still remains the largest position in Berkshire Hathaway's portfolio. Because of these two factors still being in place, I believe it is possible, even likely, that Warren will continue to reduce his stake in this company. Many thought originally he would sell down to an overall share count of 400 million in Apple, and this would match exactly his share count in Coca-Cola. And they thought, well, that will make a nice balance. But when he continued to sell down to 300 million shares, that theory kind of doesn't stand anymore. The next question is, could Warren eventually sell all of his remaining shares in Apple and be out of the position completely? One factor in this consideration is that he and Charlie Munger have said on multiple occasions that they will never sell completely out of a business that they think is still excellent, that has very good management, and has decent prospects. And all of these things, to my knowledge, are still in place with Apple. So this is one indicator that may lead someone to conclude that Warren Buffett and Berkshire will not sell out of all their Apple shares. However, this may be contrasted with a couple of more indicators. The first one is that Apple, despite carrying a very high valuation today, is buying back shares at an accelerated and even more aggressive rate than they ever have. And it definitely still holds true that when companies are aggressively putting capital towards buying overvalued stocks, this is usually not seen as the most excellent investment strategy, both by Warren and many other value investors. And I would think this is one consideration that he is giving when he's considering selling more shares or holding on to what he has. The second consideration would be his dividend on cost, or put another way, the equity bond with the expanding coupon. And that is financial calculation number 7 in this book. When we look at that, we can see the difference as to why Berkshire Hathaway has held on to their entire position in Coca-Cola compared to reducing their position in Apple by 60%. When we look at Coca-Cola, it has a 2.9% dividend today on about a $66 share price. However, when Berkshire Hathaway was acquiring Coca-Cola, they were paying on average around $1.50. Cost on Coca-Cola was 40-something times less. Conversely, their dividend on their cost is about 40-something times more than 2.9%, making their yield on their original cost such a high percentage, such a huge number now, that the relative price of the Coca-Cola equity becomes, I don't want to say irrelevant, but almost irrelevant, because they're receiving such a gigantic return on their original investment in the form of dividends. Compare that to the case of Apple, who states something like a 0.42% dividend on the current price of 230 odd something dollars. Comparing that to Apple's original cost in 2016 is about 1/8 of the amount. So their dividend, let's say, is around 8 times that amount on their original cost. So if you go 0.4 times 8, you've got a dividend now of about 3.2% on their original cost, which isn't even the rate of around 4% of cash deposits. So if Warren and Berkshire Hathaway are looking at a stock now that they feel has more potential downside than upside at these high valuations, why would they be motivated to sit around and hold that stock at a dividend on their adjusted original cost of only 3.2%? So they just don't have the same motivation to hold Apple stock in this environment as they would with, let's say, Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola obviously becomes a stock you might consider holding forever at that original cost base, whereas Apple just doesn't enjoy those same economics. So it's with these considerations that I might suggest it's not out of the realm of possibility for Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway to continue to sell Apple shares. And I would say that it's not impossible that they would even eventually sell out of each and every share of Apple Corporation. What do you all think? Do you think Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway will continue to sell Apple? Do you think that they would ever sell out of Apple completely? Leave me your comments in the comment section below as to what you think. Press the like button if you like what we're talking about here, and subscribe to the channel. It helps what we're doing, and it also encourages me to help make more videos for you. We'll see you again soon in the next one. Bye for now.